Welcome back to Morning Express. We're glad you're watching. It is time for our Kenya discussion, and today we are taking it way back to the 60s. Yes, 1963, Kenya attained her independence. This year, Kenya's happy 50th birthday. But of course, happy is one word that for some we'll be discussing to see whether it's happy for everybody. But of course, Kenya marking those 50 years of independence. And joining me in studio to talk about that journey that we have taken as a country, as a people, this far, three amazing guests. I have Professor Timothy Gatara right next to me on my immediate right. He's a lecturer and an author. Thank you, sir, for making time for us. We also have Florence Muihaki Gishohi, who is a retired librarian. Thank you, madam, for being with us today. And directly opposite me is Odinge Odera, who's an author. We appreciate you making time all to be part of this discussion. And many a times, even as we've had discussions around our independence, and it's a huge milestone for Kenya this time around, many people will be marking this 50th celebration of Kenya's independence, but not having been there in 1963, not having, perhaps even if they were born, maybe they were young kids, not understood what it meant. Maybe take us through, each of you, at that particular point, that night, 11th crossing over to the 12th. Where were you? Did you have an understanding of what this that was happening was, this transition from colonial rule to self-rule? I'll begin with you, Mr. Odinge.
Yeah, thank you very much, madam. You want to know where I was on the 11th?
How old were you at the time?
I was at that time an administrator. I was in provincial administration.
Okay.
I was a DO then in Kapenguria, West Pokot district. And that particular day on the 11th, I was on the hills of Cherengani mountains raising the flag, Kenyan flag.
Wow.
At the Cherengani mountain.
Yes.
At midnight on the 11th, 12th, that's where I was.
Raising the flag.
That's right.
Wow. And what did it mean for you, seeing all these things happen, you know, the Union Jack come down, the Kenyan flag raised, you being part of that, you know, milestone? How did it feel? It was
very exciting, I must say, madam. I was excited. And I believe many other people, I was young, of course.
Yes.
I just graduated from university, young still, but a lot of strength. And to see that this is the independent. Here I was at midnight.
Yes.
With some guys with me there. And I felt, look, this is it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah. Wow. Excitement, hopeful. Yeah. Florence, what about you?
Yes, I was 24 years old.
24.
I was a college student at the San Francisco State University in California. And we kept in touch, finding out what was happening back at home through the Kenya office, which was in New York. So they even sent us the national anthem, the notation. So we practiced, and on that day, we slaughtered a goat.
Oh.
Sang the national anthem.
Yes.
And we were so happy. Amazing.
Yes. Did it make you feel like you wished you were home, you were in Kenya at that particular time?
Yes, but we knew we were there for a purpose.
Yes.
We had been sent to the universities because our leaders then knew that after independence we are going to require manpower to run the institutions. So all of us were excited that we were playing a part. After our college, university, we are going to come back and do what we needed to do to move the country forward. So we were happy. We were away, but we knew we were there for a purpose.
Slaughtered. It went down.
Yes.
Celebration. Yes. Professor, take us through your experience.
Thank you. For me, it was a very direct involvement because I was a young boy of 14 that time, and I was a Boy Scout.
Ah.
If you have watched the clips on the Independence Day and you saw the Boy Scouts carrying the flags around the stadium, I was one of those boys.
Wow.
And we were there as Boy Scouts. We were camping at the school called Kongoni School, and we were there throughout the celebrations. We were the people we were the boys who were ushering people in and helping with arrangements. throughout the celebration, though my involvement was very direct.
Very direct.
So I was there when the flag, the British flag was brought down. And when I was glided up.
Yes.
I was there when Kenyatta spoke. Even the following day, I was there when Musawe, the man who went to host the flag on Mount Kenya, was brought by helicopter.
Yes.
So I was there throughout the week.
Wow.
And for me, it was a very exciting thing. And later on, when I grew up and became a professor, I wrote a book, The Poverty of Mind. And in one of the chapters, I have written a chapter called Uhuru. And it is about that experience.
Okay.
Yes.
About the experience.
Yeah.
So you were considerably young, I mean 14, but did you have an understanding of how significant that was, that now Kenya was independent of and from the British? Did that sink in, or were you happy that it looked like a big party and the president
yes.
is there, but did it sink in?
Yes, we were very sensitized that time.
Okay.
And we could see also the grown-ups were also very happy, our parents were happy, and we knew it was a good thing. And also at that time we lived near Karen, and we have lived in very close interaction with the white people. And the independence was telling us that there will be no more hustling
yes.
of Africans. And we could see that on Independence Day, now that it was going to happen. We were really very happy as young boys.
Yeah.
And we knew its significance. We knew we would go to school and have all the nice things that the white people used to have that time.
Used to have.
Yeah, so that was the excitement.
That was the excitement. And
yes.
it's amazing to be seated with all of you, to have been, of course I was not there, but to talk us through, for you, that direct involvement. And we're going to be having a repeat sort of like this next week, with the president being there to raise the flag at
yes.
the park, and of course the next day huge celebration. But 50 years on, Mr. Odinge, many things have happened. Kenya has walked quite a journey. For you, being around for all these years and witnessing so many changes, the ups, the downs, the twists and the turns, what would you tell or say of the Kenyan story? If you were to walk somebody through, of course it's very long, it is comprehensive, the milestones and the big things and the bad, the good, quite a number of them. But the things that stand out for you in Kenya's journey so far?
Well, I think since independence, I think we made a lot of strides. We made strides, and we are going through ups and downs.
Yes.
Like any other country, I think whatever has happened to Kenya has happened to many other countries. And the way I see it is that Kenyans, as we are, I think we are going through the right directions, except that occasionally we have kind of sort of not done what we should have done, not have experienced the expectation we may have had at the time of independence. But this is understandable sometimes, because generations come and they come with their expectations, with all their hopes, etc., etc.
Yes.
But I think so far we have done what we can do with those ups and downs, which are so many.
Yeah.
I think we can't have a lot to explain, to complain that these things have been done, but we are going through a transformation.
Yes.
This is a transformation for any other country. It is a transformation, and we'll still go through this transformation even for the next 50 years.
Yes.
There'll still be a transformation.
Okay. Florence, you were not there. At what point did you return to the country? And again, in terms of the dreams that Kenyans had then, it was a happy, joyous moment for everybody, 1963. But do you feel those have been achieved, those hopes and aspirations that, the forefathers had and fought so hard for that independence? Do you feel that has come to be realized?
Now, for me, what stands out about independence is that we gained an identity. Before independence, I think I was a Kikuyu, you were Kamba, you were something else. We were tribes. There was not that unity of being Kenyans. I remember when I went to US, my passport, it was written British subject, whatever that meant.
Wow.
I was not a Kenyan. I was a British subject. But after independence, we became Kenyans. And for me, that was very, very important, that we have identity, we are who we are, we know who we are, and we can move forward as a people. Whether along that journey we have accomplished that is questionable.
Yes.
We have not. But it is a journey, and we are making progress.
Yes.
And I'm sure one day we will get there to look at ourselves and say, yes, we are Kenyans. We are one. Yes.
Very well put, because that indeed is the biggest question. As you said then, you know, Kenya gained her identity, one people. It was not tribalistic, looking at each other from whatever tribe we are from, but we seem to be back to that conversation, isn't it, Professor?
Yes.
That today, modern day Kenya, 50 years later, we're still looking at each other not as that one identity which we were able to gain 50 years ago.
It's true, because we really had that cohesion at independence. You couldn't tell who was where.
Yeah.
But having been there, I remember the promises that were made to Kenyans as a young boy, because later on in life I reflected back. And I know how our people were even translating the coming of independence very literally, thinking that you'll have immediately good cars and good houses and all the shambas that belong to the Mzungus
Yes.
would come into their hands.
Right.
And then the warning that followed the following day from Mzee Kenyatta, because Mzee Kenyatta told people, if you touch anybody's property, this government will be tougher than the British government.
Yeah.
So, of course, for me, I was a direct beneficiary of independence. For example, I got free education. I attended an all-white school that time, the Duke of York School. I went to university. And then later on, looking at ourselves today, those promises that were made at that time, for example, the very familiar themes of a Kenya without poverty, a Kenya without hunger, a Kenya without disease. And then seeing how our population has grown, and the large majority of it still remains poor, despite all the things that we have achieved. I think the current government has an excellent opportunity to give Kenya what they promised a long time ago, because they are still waiting. And their children also are asking, we were promised these things, we are here, and we don't see them. Can we have them? And it's very vital that we address these inequalities in the country, because if we don't, these people will ask for what there is by force, and that's not what we want.
And that's not what we want.
Yes.
And speaking of the inequalities, of course, now we have devolution coming into the picture, and that is one, you know, of the things put there and has been implemented, and the Constitution has been put in there to ensure that these inequalities perhaps are sorted out. Do you see that happening? That now there's a Constitution 2010, of course, after very many years, that has been achieved. Devolution right now facing quite a number of challenges, but there are those who would argue it's early days. It should be given time to settle in. Everybody's just getting to learn. It's going through its teething problems. But do you think it will sort out some of the biggest challenges we face as a country?
Yes, I think what we have, the devolution we have, you see, our independence we had Majimbo, and I worked in that system, Majimbo.
Yes.
And I was later in Nakuru. At that time, we had some presidents of the provinces. We had, they used to call them presidents, like in the Rift Valley. I think that was former President Moi was the president of the regional assembly.
Yes.
And the PCs were called civil secretaries. The DCs were called regional government agents, and DOs were called assistant regional government agents. And as a matter of fact, what we have today in the devolution is more or less what was there, except the naming. The counties, what you call the counties, it was that regional assemblies that we had.
Yes.
It's what assembly have we had. Regional, those regions that we had about, I think it was eight presidents of the provinces. Yeah, and I think that our leaders at that time, some of them, particularly the likes of Jaramogi and all those kind of felt that, look, can we have just a unitary government so that we can develop together. That's how later they kind of infused the regional assembly into this where the Senate and all these things.
Where there's a central government.
Yeah.
But now that it's gone back to counties,
back
it's
to
now
state.
been devolved. Do you think it will
it's
work?
It's not the name that has changed.
Yes.
But it's more or less the same thing.
The same thing. So you don't see it having an impact in terms of changing?
No, it may have an impact because what we have today,
yes,
we have had a lot of impetus onto what we had that time, because the act at that time did not give them as much leeway as they're given to what we have today.
Okay.
Yeah.
The democratic space is
the
bigger.
king. Yeah.
Okay. Florence, what are your thoughts? Because, I mean, it was there, as he's very well articulated. We were devolved. It was power was to the people. But then we went centralized, and now we have newly, for this, probably the younger generation, are getting into this devolution. And we've seen the teething problems. But are you hopeful that this will help first in terms of just equity? Getting resources everywhere, getting everybody feeling that, you know, this is my Kenya, uko mashinani, not only the people in the urban areas.
Yes, I have a lot of hope for this country.
Yes.
And my hope is pinned on the people. I like to contrast the people at independence and what we have today. And I look back and I saw that the people after independence, there was so much commitment on individuals. What can I do for my country as an individual? If I was a teacher, you were committed to that profession. Whatever you are doing, you had that commitment. Today, I look at and I see something is missing, because that attitude of what can I do for my country?
That's Kenyan spirit.
Yes. Somewhere, I think it got submerged into something else. And if we go back to that, Kenya has a lot of potential because people are hardworking, they are educated, and we can go places. So I'm looking forward to people being committed to whatever they are doing. It makes me sad when I feel everybody is saying the government should do this for me, the government should do this for us. The government, who is government? We are the government. We are the people.
Yeah.
So let us talk about what I can do as a person. And each one of us, if you did that for everybody, the government is working.
Yeah.
That is my attitude.
That is your attitude. And it's a great attitude to have, because, Professor, we have a lot of that going on. You know, government do this, president do this. They are not. Who are the theys at the end of the day?
Yes. I have a lot of hope too. With the devolution, it's a move in the right direction. Looking back since Independence Day, my only fear is that the counties will become ethnic cocoons. Again, localizing everything and only employing people from there. And that is the way. That's not the way to move forward.
Yeah.
Each county needs everybody else.
Yeah.
Otherwise, devolution will create a situation where the counties that are ahead will keep on moving ahead.
Okay.
And those that are behind will still remain behind.
So, in essence, what you're saying, to be cautious that it could be a double-edged sword, this devolution.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And for example, the government should be very concerned that even areas, for example, Nyanza, not developing places like Nyanza and northeastern Kenya, is failing to develop Kenya because those places have a lot of resources. Look at Turkana. We ignored Turkana all the years. It is now the hope of Kenya. So it's very important that as we devolve, we also pay attention to that aspect, that we do not abandon countries to their own means just because we have devolved and they become ethnic enclaves.
Yes.
All Kenyans, for example, when I look at the employment pattern, if you are from Kiambu County, it's only people from Kiambu who are getting jobs. Those are not necessarily the people you need. Maybe you need the experienced rules to come and help. Turkana needs the Kikuyu. Everybody needs everybody else.
So they shouldn't now stay there and
that's right.
just
this is
have
my hope for devolution. That Kenyans will rise and serve everywhere.
Right.
In all they are qualified in.
Very well said.
If I could chip in there, I think it's one of the problems that I think she started it. That, you see, what we have today now, like she's saying, the people we have, you see, we are not doing what we ought to do, and I think there's a problem here, is the leadership. For example, take the devolution now. The as these regional authorities, people don't go to, they are on strike more or less because they want money.
Yeah.
In other words, you see, they are not contributing to the development of this country because they want money. And I think this is where the leadership, our leaders, should inculcate into our people, look, we're going to work not to get money to work. I mean, are you going to be a member of these assemblies to be paid money to work? Let's work.
Let's work first before we demand for the salaries, as we've been saying with the county assemblies.
Yeah, like John F. Kennedy said, don't think of what, don't wait for what your
country will do
for you.
Yeah. I think what can you do?
Our leaders must inculcate this thing into our youth. But our youth, we need that now.
Yeah, they need examples, they need mentors.
The elite are responsible for this.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the National Assembly, because many people, you ask them what makes them feel Kenyan, and they'll tell you then words of the National Assembly. It's a prayer. The words of the national anthem, I beg your pardon, it's a prayer that we make as a country. Very powerful words that make up the anthem. And one of the stanzas, in the first stanza, justice be our shield and defender. We sing that. And the journey we have walked, we have had incidences and cases where, you know, crimes were committed, people were killed, property was destroyed, injustices happened. Do you feel, especially in those really significant cases, 207 violence, we now just have the TJRC coming before Parliament for discussion, the report. Has justice, has it been our shield and defender, do you feel? We'll begin with you.
Well, I think, Madam, again, here, it is more of the attitude than anything else. What is the attitude of Kenyans and the leaders? Yeah. What do you think of national anthem? What is national anthem? When you look at national, what's the national anthem? We have to conceptualize. We have to conceptualize the meaning of a national anthem. What is a national anthem? This is actually what makes a country what it is. Yeah, we have to conceptualize what it is. When we do that, and then we will be part of the system and part of that country.
Yeah. Florence, are we still having very many people aggrieved? While we're seeing justice be our shield and defender, as a country, are we giving that? Is there justice? Is it our shield? Is it our defender? The post-election violence, those that were left homeless, we've seen the resettlement take very many years. Some still claiming, you know, they still need resettlement. TJRC, very many people were affected. That report, now we're discussing about its implementation. So many things that have left unattended to, so many scars, so many memories, just looking back and you feel there's not been any justice.
Yeah, for me it has been a disappointment.
Yeah,
the justice part of it. When I look back what was happening before independence, I think many of us expected justice was going to be done. The African, you remember when you would go to a railway station, there would be chores for Wazungus, Wahindis, the Africans, and then you look at the train, first class Wazungus, then Wahindi, and we are in third class. So many of us, after independence, we expected justice was going to be done, and we expected it. Now, after independence, we look at all those things that you have mentioned, where justice has not happened. So it's kind of disappointing, but we still look back in hope and say, okay, it's still a journey and we might still make it, but we need to do something to bring justice so that it is felt. Because in this country, even after independence, there are so many people who justice has not been done and they are still expecting it. So we still have a lot of work to do on that side,
on that front
of justice.
Professor?
Well, for me, as a person who has walked that period from a small boy up to now, a lot of the things you can say I was there when they happened.
Yeah.
For example, when Tom Mboya was assassinated, Tom Mboya is somebody I also knew as a boy and respected. That kind of shocked us. Then it went on. You remember Pio Gamapinto?
Yes.
It was also in the news, and that was also shocking. Then the other things happened up to today. And these are the things I talk about in one of my books, and they challenge Kenyans, that Kenyans, we remain silent irrespective of whatever happens. And these injustices still continue even today. These are the bigger ones. There are many that happen on a daily basis among the Wananchi. And I can tell you they didn't start today. They've been there during throughout the period since the time of independence, and they are still continuing. And since our population is growing, you remember our population at independence was barely 10 million.
Yes.
I think it was around 8.6 million. Now it's headed to 50 million. And with the inequalities that are there, injustices are also growing. And one of the biggest threats to our independence is this growth of inequalities and injustices. And that is, I think, what is very disappointing for me, that with all the promises of independence, these things are still there. And not only are they there, they grow bigger by the day.
They grow bigger.
Yes.
It's concerning when you say that, but you say, hope continues to be there. But also in the anthem, we talk about...
Can I just add on what Professor has just said? Well, I think the issue here, what he's saying is that this disappointment comes as a result of the type of leaderships we have, because some of our leaders have taken upon themselves to be elected this leadership, like being in parliament as an employment rather than a service. You see, they see this as a service. We are not trying to make our people realize that this is what Kenya should be. This transition and transformation, the responsibility is still upon our leaders. Do we really understand what the country wants? And if we are going to move forward, our leaders have to make sure that the people, particularly the ordinary man, understand this, and we have to guide our people into realizing what we want to be as a nation. Yeah.
Okay. And Florence, we also say may we dwell in unity, peace and liberty. When everything is okay, everyone seems to be fine. But as he's touched on, the leadership is very important, because we have elections every so often, the general elections, to elect a new cycle of leaders. But then because of the nature of our politics and how they've been practiced over the years, they're very divisive. At the end of the day, everyone read, the leaders themselves, the politicians read from the same script, tribal scripts. They forget everything else they know, that this will be divisive, this will cause this. And then the people they are seeking to bring onto their camps also follow them. So in terms of the leadership and the unity aspect, they're intertwined. A lot lies on what the leadership does. And what for you now, going forward? We'll keep having elections, but we've seen how bad it can get in our situation. That the last election we had to sing so much of, we are one. We had to talk about so much of peaceful elections so that we avoid going back to where we were. What for you is the biggest challenge on the leadership, and even Kenyans, because we're the ones who elect these people?
The biggest thing for me now is to realize that we have a constitution. The new constitution, actually it has everything laid out. If we follow what the constitution said, I can't claim to have read it and known how it is, but from what I have heard quoted, I think a lot of what we need to move the country forward is in the constitution, and our obligation is to realize that we need to follow that constitution to the letter, really, if we are going to move forward. I don't see it any other way except to follow, because it is laid out. And if you follow it, we are going to get there. Yes, I think so. I'm pinning my hopes in the new constitution.
In the constitution. But the same one, sometimes we see mutilated. You know, people trying to change it to suit themselves, because even in cases of the kind of standards for one to be elected a leader, we've seen those standards being lowered to suit those who do not meet those standards. So whilst our hopes would lie, your hopes lie in the constitution, there are people who are out to make sure it does not at the end of the day hold any value, or is not held to the esteem at which it has been put at the very beginning.
As Wananchi, we need to realize what power that constitution has given us, so that when we see our members of parliament, senate, everybody else in leadership trying to do, mutilate the constitution or anything, we have power as people to stand up and say no. This is what we have not had, because as Wananchi, we need to take our responsibility really seriously and stand up and say no to what we believe is not right for this country. And I think we'll get there.
Okay, Professor.
I think Florence is right about the constitution. It's one of the biggest things we have achieved since independence.
Yes.
But Kenyans need to remember that freedom and constitutions are not always free. When you have a freedom, don't forget to defend it. And that is what we need to do. The leadership, I think Kenyans also need to start thinking about having enlightened leadership, which we do not have. We have all sorts of leadership that doesn't care about what Wananchi are talking about. I would like, for example, Wananchi to think more nationally. I would like us, a Kikuyu, for example, to go to Nyanza and tell them I'm a Kikuyu and I'm very good for you as a leader. Elect me to parliament, and they elect me. And secondly, from what he said, people should not go to parliament to get rich. That is a very worrying trend. You can see the tug of war now we have with our local assemblies, asking for salaries instead of working. I think that theme is very critical, that you should not go to parliament or to the county assembly to get rich. You go there to serve the people of Kenya. But the key thing is for Kenyans to know that the constitution and independence, just as it came through struggle, even what you have to struggle each day in order to keep it and protect it.
There are many challenges.
I think if you
Yes.
like one scholar once said that politicians think of the next election, whereas statesmen think of the next generation. And I think this is where we go wrong, because our people think of election, how they can manipulate the populace to get them elected. This is what he thinks about, doesn't think about the country. How will I be elected in 2017? This is what he's talking about and thinking about now. He's not thinking of the country. Think how he will be elected.
Then that means we also need a more enlightened populace, so that they're not lied to and misled and treated as if there's nothing between,
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. I was just going to say that, of course, we could go on throughout this show and the whole day and talk about the very many things that are not working, the very many challenges that we face as a country. But there's something my mother always tells me on my birthdays. She says birthdays reflect on the good and the blessings. And so as we come to the close of the show, for you, 50 years on, what is the good that you see? What is it you'll be celebrating this particular period as we are marking those 50 years? Yes, we are cognizant. We are not ignoring that we have the challenges, and we are hopeful and praying and working towards making sure those are sorted out. But what are you celebrating? What sticks out for you as those strides that have been made and we have made as a country?
I think we celebrate that we are independent. We are not dependent on someone else.
Yeah.
We are dependent. And those challenges are part of our hopes and expectations. Because without those challenges, we can't sort out these other expectations.
Right.
These challenges have been there, and we have to tackle them. Just like we have been saying, as the professor is saying, you see, we have to, as Kenyans, what we are celebrating, we got to think in ourselves, what are we celebrating?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is our country going be
We're
there.
free. We have a free. We can
And then
move
say, no,
freely.
even if you are planning something, like, don't plan it for yourself. This is the problem we have. We plan for ourselves. We don't plan for other
Next
generations.
generation.
I think this
we are
is
not leaving a better Kenya
think
for
this is
those coming.
this is a
Florence.
challenge.
Yeah.
And our elites and leaders must be challenged on this.
Okay. Florence, what are you celebrating? What is this good things in Kenya to celebrate?
As a senior citizen, I'm celebrating the handing over to our children because they are the ones now on top. And this for me is great because as seniors, we are not very proud of the record that we have left behind. And we are looking at our children now, holding the reins, and we can see that I think they are going to be better than we were. This is our hope. And they will. They have started well. They have started well. There's hope. And I'm looking forward to what they are going to do for this country. And I'm hopeful they are going to improve, greatly improve on what we have done.
And of course, I also must remember the words again of the national anthem, the fruits of our labor. As you talk about the generation that is taking over, they must remember the young people, the youth in this country, that it's really about what you've put in there that you'll reap, not always waiting for those handouts, which has become quite a culture in this country. Isn't that right?
Yes, that is true. That is true. The idea of taking charge, that as leaders especially, what they need to do for the country. And if the leaders really followed what they need to do, and we as Wananchi did what we are supposed to do, this is what it takes for a country to move forward. Everybody playing their part. But what we have heard is some people sitting back and watching. We have a lot of spectators. This is what we don't need. We need everybody to pull together so we can all together bring this country to the next level.
Professor, what are the positives? I really want us to get positive.
That's really, I'm positive. One thing I've seen during that period that has really remained, first of all, it is the resilient spirit of Kenyans. For me, I'll be celebrating that resilience because I have seen it through good and bad times. And also, I'm celebrating the good nature of the Kenyan people.
Yes.
And the hope I see on their faces every day, and hope that tomorrow will be better. And I also think, I like our national anthem very much.
It is.
But I also think now it's time to have a new national anthem. But that's just my opinion.
Why do you think so?
It will give a new hope. There are things now we can say in our national anthem that go with the times. But this, as I said, this is again just my opinion.
Your opinion.
And I have also, since I'm a writer, I've started to write such a national anthem. Maybe one day, if there is change, I can contribute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Our time is up. I want to give you each an opportunity to make your final remarks. As we've said, there's a lot that can be said of this country. It cannot be done in one show. It's a rich history, but now focus is shifting to the next 50. The next 50 years. What is it you hope and would urge Kenyans right now watching and listening to you?
This thing goes again with the leadership. As she was saying, you see, the disappointment here maybe the younger generation, our children, our grandchildren, what are we bequeathing? What is, you see, it's a challenge to our leaders. Now these guys are coming. What are we bequeathing? What are we leaving for them? How to guide this kind of, because at some point or another, these guys are going to go anyway.
Yes.
So we need to nurture this generation now into taking the leadership to take this thing forward. Not to say that it will be my brother, my tribesman, or whatever. It is going to be Kenya. So what I would say that I challenge the leaders, let us look forward as Kenyans, as not as either ethnical tribesmen or whatever it is. This is going to go at some point or another.
Okay, thank you. So very well said. Florence, finally.
Yes, I would like to appeal to the digital age. You are now in charge. you have so much in front of you, so much information that we didn't have. You can see what is happening in the rest of the country with the click of something on your iPads and so forth. So please, use the opportunity that you have to better this country, and you can do it. You are capable. So I'm appealing to the young people because now they are in charge and they can actually do a whole lot of much better than we did. You have all the tools that you need to bring this country to fantastic levels.
Amen to that. Professor, finally.
I would like to urge Kenyans to continue striving to rise their ethnic boundaries and struggle to become a nation. At the same time, I would also like to urge our youth, because this is their day, I would like to urge them to have hope that all is not lost. And finally, I would like us to have a bigger vision than Vision 2030. Vision 2030 is not a vision, it's just a mission. Why do we want to become a middle-class economy when we can become a first-class economy? We should tell our young people we are going to become a first-class economy, not a middle-income economy.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you all. Professor Timothy Gatara, lecturer, author. Florence Mwihaki, thank you so much. Former librarian. Odinge Odera, author. Thank you all.
Yeah, you did mention that I'm the author of My Journey with Jaramogi.
Yes, you are. You are. Yes, you are. How was that, writing it?
Yeah.
It was a good experience, putting that together, penning it down?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, yes, you are. It's because those profiles, but we appreciate you coming onto the show and being part of this discussion. At the end of the day, very important what you said, hope, keeping hope alive, knowing that we each have a role to play and putting our best foot forward in working to get the Kenya we want.
Yes.
It's our role, it's on all of us, and we thank you.
Thank you.
And
It's
all
been
the
a
best.
pleasure.
You will be part of the celebrations?
Yes.
You will be there again? Would you plan to be?
I'll try to be there.
You will
to
try
see the
to
same
be.
stadium which I described in my book.
Yes.
And I would like Kenyans to read the book so that they can get the experiences that we have talked about.
The poverty of
called
mind.
The poverty of mind.
Okay.
And because it tells the journey from independence up to today.
Up to today.
And then also looking forward, just as we have discussed.
Yes.
And I'll give a copy also to you. Complimentary copy.
Okay.
You as a presenter of KTN.
Well, thank you. Yes, and
I'll autograph that for you.
You'll autograph.
Before I leave.
Wow, thank you.
But mine you have.
Book. Yes.
I gave you mine.
Thank you so much. Poverty of mind. Indeed, it will be a great read. We thank you all.